Okay, so we have, this is the first trading day after President Buhari's inauguration. The stock market is growing 0.33% as we speak. That's the Nigerian Stock Exchange Composite Index. MTN Nigeria leading the market. Green shoots this Thursday. We have 2 trading days left in the week. But that's one of the biggest companies on our markets. Maybe you missed that through last week. Dangote Cement being rated as or retaining its position as the most admired brand on the African continent. It's just a few years ago when Dangote Cement stepped out of Nigeria and started setting up operations across the continent, all the way to Ethiopia and down the line all the way to Zambia, and of course across the West African region, including Congo in Central Africa. So let's talk to Bismarck Rwani, who is the CEO at a financial derivatives company and China's economic consultant on this very interesting story. Mr. Rwani, good morning. This is one nice story for Nigeria that seems to be getting a little bit less media attention, perhaps because of the political, the inauguration, whatever. How big is this story for Nigeria to have the country's first most admired brand in the industrial space?
It's a big deal, Bosen. As an African brand that started how many years ago in the manufacturing space, transformed from trading to manufacturing, and transformed from manufacturing in Nigeria to across the continent. And now you see that it's #1 most admired brand when prompted. You have to understand that when spontaneous response, MTN was #1 brand. Spontaneous, when prompted, Dangote is #1. Now let us break it down a little bit. The truth is that the African consumer is changing its pattern of behavior and its needs. You see that European brands fell, and some other brands fell, like Indomie and others also fell. But most important is the fact that you find that Nike is the #1 most admired brand in Africa amongst the 100, both spontaneous and prompted. And why is this? It means that Africans have an affinity to sports, both soccer, athletics, cricket, and so Nike has entrenched its position. Other brands of importance are like Mirinda, Pepsi Cola. But when it comes to the African brands, you find that Dangote Cement, Dangote Flour, Dangote Sugar, Dangote, and all the... So Dangote has dominated what you can call the consumer durables and the consumable space. And if you look at its rate of growth, it means that Dangote's transformation into becoming a universal brand rather than just a domestic brand in Nigeria is something that has to be noted. So what does it mean? It means that Dangote is investing big time. Dangote's corporate social responsibility is getting traction. Dangote is on CNN and all the global media houses. And Dangote's impact is being felt across both French-speaking and English-speaking Africa, both in the South, in the East part of Africa, and more importantly in West Africa.
So, Mr. Rwani, if we look at the success story of which Dangote Cement has become, making Nigerian proud as a 100% indigenous Nigerian company, making such big wave or big splash across the 54 countries on the continent. What does that mean to you? What does this tell us about the prospect, the opportunities there for Nigerian brands, indigenous brands that will make very big names, big impact across the continent, just as we have today, at least the formal takeoff of the new Continental Free Trade Zone?
No, actually, what you have to take into consideration is that Dangote is a focused entrepreneur. He's committed a lot of resources. It shows that if you invest and you stay focused and stay disciplined, the rewards are almost guaranteed. But it's not that easy to stay focused and disciplined. He has transformed from just being a trading company to becoming a Nigerian manufacturing company of consumer goods, and has become an African story. And also, it's not easy to navigate your way through the political process in Africa with all of the problems that you have, to maintain brand enhancement, to create a brand, enhance the brand, and make the brand to be respected and also admired. So what are we seeing here? We are seeing a brand that's been accepted by the consumer, a brand that is respected by the consumer, and a brand that has been enhanced and delivered, and now it's becoming a universal brand. And don't forget, in this whole space, there's an Ethiopian brand that makes shoes, there's Safaricom, and there's Nike. You are just behind Nike and MTN is Dangote, which is a wholly indigenous company from Nigeria, and only made its foray into the African continent less than 10 years ago. To make your foray into Africa in 10 years and become the most admired brand when prompted by consumers is a major feat, and it has to be respected and recognized in this country.
My point to Mr. Wani is, how much more would you like to see of similar brands? We talk about Jumia, for example, and all of that. Do you think we have more space for this? And what do you think? Do you think there's anything the government could do, or is it about entrepreneurship, like you said, the discipline that Aliko Dangote has put into this particular enterprise? He's not the first Nigerian billionaire, by the way, but today he's not just a billionaire in Nigeria, but across the continent.
No, it's not about money. It's about the effort and the rewards and the results that you see. The government, all the government has to do, first and foremost, is not to get in the way. You need to allow and encourage the Dangotes of the world to be your champions. And in this era of economic diplomacy, it is the Nigerian entrepreneurs who are going to champion the Nigerian project across Africa and across the world. It is not the Nigerian government. The Nigerian government just provides the enabling environment, and that is one. We have to have some consistency in policy, and you have to deliberately actually go out and nurture other entrepreneurs with such a mission. So we need, Aliko is a role model. Aliko is a titan as far as entrepreneurship and investment. And more than anything, the ability and the audacity to take risks. Many of these Nigerian billionaires don't want to take risks. Aliko has taken risks, and he continues to take risks, and he continues to succeed. Has it been an easy story? No. I mean, there are things that, he has come against headwinds in many countries, in Senegal and all of that, but he has stayed, the tenacity to stay the course, stay focused, and succeed. So one can only say we need more Dangotes, and who are focused, who have the audacity, right, the courage and the ideas to continue championing the cause of Africa. Aliko is no longer just a Nigerian phenomenon, it's an African phenomenon, and become a global phenomenon in due course.
Mr. Makrawane, CEO at Financial Derivatives Company and Channel's Economic Counselor, thank you very much for coming through our studios at the Nigerian Stock Exchange for this important discussion, talking about Dangote Cement as Africa's #1 most admired brand when prompted by consumers. So let's we'll be right back. We have a lot more to talk about commodities, don't we? Yes, we do.